Back at it again at the Omiya Surugaya Retro ReWire. JJ here in the hunt, in the showcase. Let's go. 63,000 for that Game Boy Color. It's a special edition. Now, here, a lot of the stuff in the showcase, it's going to be pricey. We already know. But I like to start here. That's just the way that I roll. And I was actually looking for a specific item, which is this. I'm in the market for a Game Boy Micro. 27,300 yen. And for one in the box, 41,400 yen. I decided to pass on both because I'm not really keen on the color of that. What is it, like a rose metal? Look at this thing. It's clean. But for that price, you can find one complete in the box at other locations. And it's not a rush. I'm not dying to have one, but I'm definitely gonna look and see what they got. But all sorts of handhelds, all sorts of Nintendo stuff. 3,700 for the Fat DS. Love that thing. We got some PSPs. 9,000 when I was 12,000. The PSP Go. They have two of them. The black one being more expensive at 19,000 and 16,100 yen for the PSP Go, the white one. 27,200 yen for the PS Vita. Looks like that seems to be more or less average in the box. 17,500 yen for without any box. And just more PSPs. PSP is my favorite handheld, and I have about 4 of them, and I don't need any more, that's for sure. That is for sure. And they also had a 30th anniversary PS5 down there, and I think it was like 60 some or 70 some thousand. I don't know, I forget. I took a picture of it, and I'll post on Instagram. Just forgetting off the top of my head. And then here we have some kind of dock for the Switch. At least I'm assuming it's a dock for the Switch. And look at the faceplates for the new 3DS. 8,000. I used to have that one. I picked it up in the States. A really nice looking one. But anyhow, let's go in the store proper. I still haven't given up hope. After a Game Boy Micro here. We're going to go down the old Nintendo aisle. This little area of the store, this is a great place to look for like junk hardware. I once picked up a clear smoke or a smoke N64, one of those cool color ones, for about 6,000 yen. It was just a console only, but I felt that was a pretty good price on that thing. That silver cube was looking mean. Look at this mangy Super Famicom, 800 yen. 8,000, no way. But 800 yen. What else do we got? N64s, all sorts of hardware. Now, I'm just kind of hopping all over the place. This is just straight up raw. I ended up going to another Surugaya later in the evening just because time was limited and I was on official business, as I always am. I'm working like crazy, working on the weekends. But that's not going to stop me from going game hunting during like whenever there's time, right? Anyhow, we got some Game Gears. Look at that one. 3,700 yen. Most likely it does not work. And they had another one there for a higher price. But here we go. 18,300 yen for this Game Boy Micro. Now, it's labeled as junk. I did ask to take a look at it. I tried to power it on. And I could hear like a clicking sound coming from the speaker. Now, I'm not really too familiar with troubleshooting a Game Boy Micro. But I decided to pass. Because I don't have time to do repairs right now. Here we have a Contra Dual Spirits, 14,000 on the old Nintendo DS. But as I mentioned, I don't really have time to mess around with repair work. But here we have, what is this, the Station Pack for the GameCube. I've seen that one loose, but never in the box, so that was kind of cool. Here we have some Game Boy games. We have the Zoth, I'm not really sure, 4,500 yen. That's a pretty pricey one, complete in the box. We have Gradius 2 for 4,200 yen and World Heroes 2 Jet, 2,300 yen. Now, one thing that I noticed about this location, I hadn't been here for quite some time, but I felt that the prices here were slightly higher than the Surugayas that I've been, than the other Surugayas that I've been visiting, in other parts of Saitama and Chiba and whatnot. I felt this was closer to the pricing that you might find in Akihabara, more or less. But that's not to say that you're not going to find deals within the stacks or in the junk section or even in the showcase. And it is in my nature to come regardless. I got to come and see what's going on. What do we have here? This Champion retro pack thingy. We got some Game Boy Advance. And Game Boy Advance, man, I've been playing some Super Mario Bros. 3, which is what Mario Advance 2, and having a great time. And just playing that game and, messing around with the Game Boy Advance, it's just kind of back in style for me. It's back in vogue. And that's what kind of spurred me to want, these feelings of wanting to get a Game Boy Micro. But again, it's not going to be something that I want to rush into, just because it is a pricey little handheld, and I want to look for a deal. Here we have KOF EX for 2,200 yen, and then the Silent Hill. I don't know what kind of game, if that's like a little graphic novel or a pinball game, but it was 8,100 yen, and that's just for the cart. So just imagine the price of it complete in the box. Got some Castlevania. What was that? Aria of Sorrow or Harmony of Dissonance? One of the two. We got Donkey Kong Bonanza, 5,500 yen. A whole bunch of Switch 2 stuff in the showcase. And then we got the 20th Anniversary Family Computer Collection Pack. I believe those are a bunch of Game Boy Advance. And then again, the Station Rack. I think I said pack before, but it's rack. The Station Rack for the old GameCube. And as I walk away in defeat, let's take a look at the end cap here of more Game Boy Advance games. And we have Klonoa here for 2,200 yen. They also had the sequel on the Game Boy Advance in the showcase, and it was also a loose cart. I wonder if the same person traded both in. You never know. Here we got Garo Special for the old Game Boy, 1,800 yen. I do have a copy of that. I picked it up in Osaka, and it's a great game. Now here, on the left hand, just to the left of this, there was like a little transparent blue PS2 stand, which I picked up for 1,400 yen. That's going to match my PS2 perfectly. Anyhow, Sega Mega Drive, that was Darwin 4081, which is also a part of the Arcade Archives by Hamster, and it is available on Switch. We got Sonic 2 for 3,400 yen. That's also on Switch, a port by M2. We got Golden Axe 4,800. And then this Winter Olympics. Look at this cover. And US Gold is the publisher there. I'm not sure if that's any good, but the cover was kind of cool looking. And we got some 3DO. Again, I'm just skimming through this stuff because as I was filming, I was contemplating, because at the time that I was looking at this stuff, I still hadn't taken a closer look at that Game Boy Micro, so that was on my mind. And then this game, this Warp Puzzle game, just keeps reappearing. And then 1,100 yen for hard driving. Great game. Samurai Showdown on the 3DO for 4,000. And what else do we got? We got some PCFX. Let's take a look at some Neo Geo CD. KOF 96, 3,400 yen. Sidekicks 2 for 3,300. We got the special disc World Heroes Perfect, 4,200. A pretty good selection of Neo Geo CD fighting games. But again, I don't know. I think a lot of these can be found for slightly less. But, I mean, if you took the trouble to come out here, I mean, don't be spending more money to go further and further out, right? Sometimes it just makes sense. But anyhow, Fighter's History Dynamite, 3,500 yen. I do have a copy of just plain old Fighter's History that was brought over to the Switch courtesy of Johnny Turbo's Arcade, which I believe all of the releases that he had, or that they had, have been delisted since. We got R-Type on the PC Engine for 3,100 yen. And I'm still collecting for the old PC Engine. As a matter of fact, I got a new pickup for it. And that was at the second Surugaya that I went to on this very day. It'll be the next episode, as a matter of fact. Anyhow, I think I've said too much. We got Quiz Avenue. What else do we have? Vigilante, 4,500 yen. And this, Akumajo Dracula, 4,900 yen on the old Game Boy Advance. I was a little bit tempted by that. I do want to pick that up for the GBA because the Famicom cart version is so expensive, whether it's loose and especially complete in the box. But we're not done with the PC Engine. Let's see what else we can find here. We got Special, 3,800 yen. I do want a copy of that as well. I do have Garo 2. And Garo 2 can be found for like 1,000 yen if you don't even have to look that hard. Look at this beautiful cover to Might and Magic. That thing is awesome. Look at that. What else do we? I forgot the name of this game, but they also had one on the old Sega, the old Sega Mega Drive. Um, as a matter of fact, this was actually the second stop. Now that I think about it, this is Genocide. The first stop of the day for me was very early at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. I went to a hard off and I found a complete in the box Sega Mega Drive for 7,000 yen. Anyhow, we have Spike Out. I think that one was coming over 10,000 yen, and then Samurai Showdown Sen, and then Outrun 2, the first edition release there. We got Cotton Boomerang for 38,000. Next to Cotton, the Cotton 2 for 12,500 yen. That looks like it's a little. That seems like a little bit lower price than what I'm used to seeing on that Cotton 2, which I do have a copy. And then here we have, what is this? Sexy Parodius Forever With Me, 8,700 yen. And then we have Splatterhouse for 6,600 yen. Now, mind you, the condition on some of these is not going to be like S rank or anything. Some of these are coming in at a B rank, but, you know, still. Here we have Fighter's History Dynamite. 16,500 yen for the old AES. And then what do we have here? Image Fight 2. I do want a copy of that. 12,000. But maybe Trader is the place to go for that. Maybe they'll have it for less. And then they had Fiend Hunter there. And then Download 2. 16,600 yen on the old CD ROM with the Obi card too. And then we got Clockwork Knight. This is the later release that has both games on one disc. And then Astal, 5,600 yen, but there's got to be something fishy there. Then Rockman 8 for 7,000, Rockman X4, 6,100 yen, and then 12,600 for the Taito Chase and SCI collection there, which I do want a copy of that. Although I hear that the controls are a bit janky, but still. We got the Super Shinobi 2. What was that, 33,000? Mad Stalker, Full Metal 4th for 10,000. And what else? We have Wings of War for 20,000. And what else do we have in here? There's pretty good stuff in here. We got Ray Zamber 2 for 9,100 yen. And what else do we have? P47, 5,300 yen. Another copy of Splatterhouse for 10,000. So, yeah, there's some pretty good stuff in here. Yeah, just R-Type Complete there, 7,500 yen. And here we go, Gigawing, 6,300 yen. That one's not so expensive. They have Space Channel 5 Part 2 for 12,400. And then Xbox games in the back. We got the Dreamcast stick there. And a Dreamcast for 19,800 yen. And then back to the glorious Outrun 2. Look at that. 16,900 yen. 14,000 is what Trader and Akihabara had it for. And then the Dreamcast selection. They had a pretty good selection of Dreamcast games here. 2,600 there for Marvel's Capcom 2. Death Crimson 2. Look at this. I think this is a light gun game. And that was, what, 4,000? But they had a ton of fighting games. Like this JoJo collection for 4,900 yen. They had 900 yen on Soul Calibur, Street Fighter 3, 4,300. 03 for 4,000. But look at that. All sorts of fighting games. This might be, you can do some damage here. And then Super Runabout for 2,000. I want Super Runabout, the San Francisco edition, on the Japanese Dreamcast, as that adds all the updates from the American release, or the North American release. What else do we have here? We got some Sega Saturn. And look at this Jackie. Look at this. He's a car enthusiast. I've never messed with one of those CG portraits for the Virtua Fighter characters. The one featuring Dural, which is the final release, that one is expensive. And I think I've only seen it a handful of times. But anyhow, Initial D, 4,100 yen. This one looks like it could be pretty good on the Sega Saturn. It also saw a PS1 release. And maybe they go toe-to-toe in terms of visual fidelity and performance. But Let's keep it moving here. We got the twin sticks, and then we got the old Xbox. We're not going to overlook this. What else do we have here? We got Enter the Matrix, 1,000 yen. Midtown Madness 3 for 1,600. Blinks for 1,800. Myst 3 for 900, and then Metal Dungeon there. And what else do we got? Now, I knew I wasn't going to pick up anything for the Xbox, but I had to look and share that. Maximum, that's a great game, Maximum Chase. I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm pretty close. And then Silent Hill 2, 4,100 yen, and Gun Valkyrie for 1,900. And then again, Samurai Spirit Sen. But I don't want to pay that price. I want to pay like, I feel comfortable paying somewhere between 2,000 to 3,000 yen. 7,900 there. And then they also had one in the showcase, but I'm not sure what the price on that one was. We got Project Gotham. What else do we have here? All sorts of stuff on the 360. Look at a North American version of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. I do have a copy of that, but I have it for the PS3, and it's the Game of the Year edition that adds like the meaning. Well, I guess the online community is still active. There we have The Last Blade, 4,800 on the Neo Geo Pocket. And then we have Kiki Kai Kai, 8,900 yen. That's just going to be for the standalone Hue card. And what else? We got a Virtua Stick down here, 10,500 yen. Now, the Momotaro Kingdom had one in pristine condition for 4,800 yen. So you could still find Virtua Sticks for the Saturn for far, far less. Let's just make our way here into the junk section. And then here we got a controller for the PC Engine, 1,400 yen. Get a toothbrush, clean that. Believe me, a toothbrush will do wonders. What else do we have? I feel like this Xbox has been here for years. Most likely because of that price tag, 22,400 yen. And it's in the junk section, so I don't know what they're thinking there. 5,500 for the disc system. We got a PS2 there for 1,000 yen. Now, I'm sure that the junk section is going to vary wildly with each visit, with the exception of that Xbox. That'll probably always be there, at least for many years to come. But since this is a high-volume store, as soon as something hits the junk, it probably doesn't last very long. Anyhow, we got some disc system games. They had a whole bunch of them. I didn't dig in too deep, but rest assured that they have them. Here we have the second Nintendo aisle. A lot of the classic stuff. And what's in the showcase? Let's take a closer look here. We got Gradius Generation for 22,000. Spider-Man there for 80,000. Contra Spirits for 16,000. This is the showcase. Final Fight 1 for 8,600 yen. I do want to play that. I hear that you could have like the alpha sprites in that release of Final Fight. And then we got Metal Gear Solid, the Twin Snakes for 7,900 yen. And check out this Top Racer. I think I've seen this one before, but that's like an inflatable, like little balloon shaped like a bike. Wanpaku Graffiti Splatterhouse there. All the first two Final Fantasies, or was that part 3? Part 1 and 3. The Illusion of Gaia. What else do we have? Kabuki Rocks. We got some Parodias. They had a copy of Vulcan back there. And what do we have for loose cards? We got Super Castlevania, 2,100 yen. Contra Spirits for 3,000. And Axelay for 7,400 yen. I still want a copy of that. I think that might be one of the major Super Famicom releases that I still don't have. 1,200 for Gradius 3. Great game. Although it is plagued by the slowdown, but that's just the way it goes. On the old Super Famicom, I wonder if that one got like a hack. I believe it did get a hack, where it kind of speeds things up. But here we have this Adventure Island remake, which I think this one may have been on the Wii Shop, but it was a physical release there for the PS2. And then we got Rockman Power Battles 1 and 2, the bundle. Great games, those. Very fun. And then we have Maximo. I think this is the sequel, Army of Zin or whatever it's called. I beat the first one, but I haven't beaten the second one yet. And then Firefighters FD18. This looks like it could be pretty good, by Konami. And because it's Konami, and Konami of that era typically added English language options, so there's a high chance that has full English. Prince of Persia there. And what I was looking for here was Metal Slug 5. And then Dororo, 2,500 yen. I believe the North American version of that is crazy expensive. Here we go. What do we have here? Gun Griffin Blaze. That was brought over to the States by Working Designs. Street Fighter Zero, Fighters Generation, the Anthology. Excellent collection. R-Type Final, 3,200 yen. And what do we have? 4,700 for Marvel vs. Capcom. Other Surugayas will have it for close to like 2,300 yen. So some games could be, you know, more expensive here at this location. What do we have? Area 51, 2,400 yen. I believe Area 51 also had a PS3 release, if I'm not mistaken. I wonder if those are connected. And we got some Ultraman stuff there. What else do we have? All sorts of PS2 stuff. Good old PlayStation 2, man. And then we got the Last Blade collection, 3,500 yen. I hear that collection of Last Blade games is not very good. And then we have Django Fett, 1,900 yen. I have vague memories of playing that one back in my dorm days. Many years ago, like 2000. What else do we have here? What is this? Macross, 2,800 yen. This one could be good. Some of the Macross games, you know, they're not like mind-blowing, but they are fun. And then Mushihime-sama, 4,700 yen. Beautiful cover on the PlayStation 2. I do have a copy of it. And then we have Neo Contra, 3,300 yen. I beat that one many years ago, and it's a great little top-down shooter. Excellent game. What do we have here? Rogue Ops. I don't know much about that one. And if memory serves me right, I didn't find Metal Slug 5, which is fine. Keep looking. Again, Metal Slug 5, I want to pay like below, like at 2,000 is good. Most places seem to have it for like about 4,000, but you know, all in due time, it'll come around. We got the Biohazard GunCon 2. That was a pretty clean box too. And a lot of PlayStation 1 stuff. They had quite a bit. We got this Real Bout for 1,600 yen. And they also had Special, which adds an additional character, Dominated Mind. And he's exclusive to the PS1 version. And then this, what is this? Virtual something. I don't have that 3D fighting game, and I do want a copy. They also had something Heaven by Atlas. We'll have a look at it here in a second. It's another 3D fighter. This is like a role-playing game for 1,100 yen. But those early 3D fighters, really tons of fun. Look at all those copies of Biohazard, 1,800 yen. And then Mitsumete something. Not really sure what that one is. Probably a visual novel. Konami was pumping those out like crazy. What else do we have here? No. As I just dig through the stacks like a madman here. Look, I'm indecisive. And then we have this Pachinko game by Konami. I haven't seen that one before. And I was just checking to see if they had any like specially themed ones. As I believe another different third-party publisher had like the Pachinko game featuring Street Fighter. That's Vandal Hearts there for 1,200 yen. Marvel vs. Capcom, 3,100 yen. That's not too bad. I do want a copy of that for the PS1, but ultra low priority. So if I can find it for like 2,000-ish, maybe I'll bite. What do we have here? Burning Fest, 120%. 3,900 yen with the Obi card, and then we have Vampire Savior. That's a cool game on the PS1. And Marvel vs. Street Fighter EX Spriggan. This one has been popping up as of late. And then look at this, the Final Fantasy 12 PS2 edition, 16,200 yen. That was definitely an unexpected find. I once found one console only for like about 3,000, and I gifted that to a friend who's a hardcore Final Fantasy maniac. Here, what do we have here? We got Gundam the Battle Masters 2. That one looks like it's a cool fighting game. It looks pretty hardcore based off of the screenshots there. Then we have Panzer Bandit for 14,300 next to Gunner's Heaven for 8,000 and some change. And then Rayman for 6,900 yen. And then Rising Zan, 6,800 yen. I do want to play that one. And then Airgrave, 18,400 yen. The Fireman for 6,700 yen. And then this Twinbee or Parodius, Forever With Me, 11,200 yen. That one was also on the Saturn, and on the Saturn at the showcase it was less. 14,100 for the PS4, which is a little bit lower than what I'm used to seeing. 19,000 for this launch PS1, and then they had the mini up top for 9,800 yen. Those kind of pair well together. And then Cowboy Bebop there for 5,400 yen. I have the greatest hits version of that, and I prefer the greatest hits cover. Here we have these Namco anthology packs. I wonder what all this includes. That's a pretty big box, and they had 3 of them. And I'm assuming that each volume got a release like that, which is kind of cool. Those early limited editions are interesting. Here we have Contra there, and then we have Hokuto no Ken, the fighting game, for 6,000, 7,200 for that Contra, and that was kind of like Hamster's earliest like arcade releases. They were starting that as early as the PS2 days. And then we'll take a look at a few more PS1 games, but the Omiya Surugaya. This is a tax-free store. And look at all these copies of G Darius and then Exvius 3D. But normally, like, you know, this location normally is not bad. 1,400 yen for Dark Forces. Now, for me personally, this particular visit was a little bit of a letdown. And that's okay, you know. It was kind of cool finding that Game Boy Micro, that junk one. But again, when I tried powering that thing on, it was just kind of like making like a popping sound through the speaker. And look at this loaded 3,500 yen. I think that cover is better than the Sega Saturn Japanese release. But, you know, I have it on Saturn, so there's no reason to double dip on all loaded. Although Reloaded is a PS1 exclusive, and I don't think that one saw a Japanese release. And then check this out, Extreme Power, 900 yen. This looks like an early competitor to Armored Core. I'm not sure if that one predates it or not, but that's kind of an interesting find there. Omega Boost, excellent game, 1,800 yen. And what the heck? Oh, that's a Namco shooting gallery type of game. Night Strikers, 4,100 yen. I do have a copy of that. And then The Shooting Part 2. A little collection of light gun games. What else do we have in here? Kenshin, 900. Look at these games. The PS2, or the PS1, man. Such a rich library. Marvel vs. Capcom, these are more expensive than the first one we saw. And that was a Samurai Showdown, the 3D version on the PS1, which I do have a copy of, with Hamoru being a lot older. Here we go, Heaven's Gate by Atlas. Look at this game. I do want a copy of this, but 4,100 yen. It's not a high priority, so we're going to let that one go. Tobo number 1. And this, I used to have this. This is Battle Arena Toshinden with like little deformed kids, but it plays really bad. The control scheme, it was kind of, when I was playing it, it was so bad that I got rid of it shortly after popping it into the old PS1. It was that bad. But anyhow, yeah, great time here at the Surugaya. It's going to be a while before I return here. Anyhow, we'll see you soon. Ciao.